Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. We're glad you're here for today's webinar, Remote Control, Navigating Your Career from Anywhere. I'm Greg Berry, Director of Communications in the Office of Alumni Affairs. Before we get to introducing today's guests, let's start out with a quick question. What best describes your current role? Your options are executive or leadership, manager, individual contributor, student, consultant, or if it's other, go ahead and drop that in the chat. We'll monitor that and include that in our selections here in a little bit. Please select the best answer for you. We'll leave the poll up for a bit so you can make your selection. A disclaimer, as with any virtual event, occasional technical hiccups may occur. If you experience any video or audio issues, simply click reconnect or refresh your screen to return to the presentation quickly. A quick note for today's live attendees, this webinar is being recorded. Once the replay is available on our website, we'll send you an email with the link so you can watch it at any time. Today, we're excited to welcome Rita Stewart-Hampton and Tyler Furgerson back to the webinar. It's Rita's third appearance, Tyler's first appearance. Rita is director of the UAB Collat School of Business Career Center. There she leads programs that supports career development. Since 2010, she's launched initiatives like Suit Up Collat and Employer Chats. With 30 years of experience in business and education, she's passionate about helping others grow professionally. Tyler is Director of Creative Services at the UAB Hearsink School of Medicine. He guides web strategies and design. A UAB alum, he has over a decade of experience in marketing, branding, and communications. Now, before we continue, here are the results of that poll. I'm going to go ahead and end that. It looks like the vast majority appear to be individual contributors, 33%, other, 29%, and 22% are managers. Looking at the chat, it looks like retired, administrative associate, administrator at a senior level. So that's kind of our audience that we're looking at. Now, as a follow, we want to know why you're here today. What brings you to this webinar? Are you looking to learn a skill, exploring a new tool or technology, developing new networking techniques? You're just curious, or you figure there's just nothing better to do during your lunch break? And if that's the case, welcome. We're glad you're here. We're going to go ahead and keep that poll up for a little bit as I officially turn things over to Rita and Tyler. Rita, welcome back. Tyler, welcome.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you all for being here today on your lunch break. As Greg said, Tyler and I have worked together on different projects for over 10 plus years. We're aging ourselves, Tyler, but today you'll have the best of both worlds. You're going to get some professional development tips layered with branding and marketing, and that's Tyler's specialty. So now that we know kind of who's in the room and what people are looking for, I want to set the stage for this webinar today. So I want everybody to close their eyes, or don't close your eyes. But anyway, just imagine that you're on Tyler and Rita's podcast for the next 30, 45 minutes. So it is a podcast where you're going to get some information, but also you're going to be able to share some information with us via the chat. Tyler and I, we don't have PhDs and a lot of research in personal branding and career, but we have learned a lot along the way. So these are lessons that we have learned along our career journey that we want to share with you guys. My dad used to say that a bought lesson is the best lesson. So hopefully you'll gain some tips from us today. So we'll move right into the expectations for today. So hopefully you'll be able to craft a compelling and professional online presence. You'll navigate the virtual job search with confidence. You'll be authentic in developing meaningful connections online, and you'll leverage some of the tools that we talk about today and techniques to boost your credibility.
That's right.
Go ahead, Tyler.
Yeah, no, that's right. We've got some fun topics ahead. So some fun topics, some good topics. And like Miss Rita said, we're going to engage. I just, we ask that you guys lean in with us, use the chat so that we can make this a fun, two-way engaging experience. Sound good? All
Sounds good.
right. So we're going to dive in. We're going to dive into our first topic, and this is just the foundation. We're going to set the foundation for what a personal brand is. So, Miss Rita, kick us off. Tell us a little bit about what you think a personal brand is.
So, Tyler, when I think of personal brand, I think about what you stand for, what you believe in. And I think each person on this webinar today has a unique personal brand.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. So what about you guys? We want to hear from you.
Yeah.
Use the chat. So use the chat over there on the side of your screen. Tell us what you think a personal brand is. Whatever first came to mind whenever you first saw this question pop up on the screen, drop it in the chat. Drop it in the chat for us. And then we'd love to hear for a few answers. And then we'll take a look at what it really is.
And I'll just jump in here too. And I know you said what you said. And it's kind of the same thing. It's how you present yourself or how you want to be viewed.
Right.
I don't think there should be much of a stretch between your natural brand and your outward brand. But I think that's what I would say. And I'm still waiting for people to drop things in the chat. Go ahead and drop those in the chat as we continue this webinar. And we'll see if anything pops up, guys.
Okay. I think we may have some things coming in. Let's see. Dennis, thank you for being here. You're retired, so we appreciate you being here.
Yeah. David, great answer. Yeah. Way to build interest and excitement. Absolutely.
Tony said the values that you uphold. Andrea says your voice on how you want to represent yourself. Okay. Tasha says individuals' experience and skills for their career.
Absolutely. Love that. Leadership styles. Absolutely.
Yeah, we got a lot of good ones coming in. How people view you outside of your career is your personal brand.
Yeah. It's personal and it's personal and professional. Great point there.
So Tyler, there's some great ones coming in.
Yeah.
What do you say, Tyler? What do you say?
I think it's what people first think of you. When somebody's having a conversation and says, yeah, Tyler, he works over in the School of Medicine. What is that first thing that pops in their mind? Maybe work ethic, work style, whatever those first things are that pop into somebody's mind, that's what your personal brand is made of. So all of those are awesome answers. So we'll take a look here. What a personal brand is the intentional effort you make towards shaping how you're perceived professionally. And I know you guys have already said some of these things. It's your reputation, it's your trust, it's your credibility, the value you bring to your workplace, to the people around you. It's your story. At the end of the day, it's your story. It's living, breathing, authentic, ever changing. So those are some of the things that your personal brand is. It's not just a logo. It's not a logo. It's not a tagline. It's not a persona. It's not a one-time effort. This is something that has been in the works for a long time. And lastly, it's not a popularity contest. You are made uniquely you, and you get to market that and show that off. So I think those are some of the key components of a personal brand.
And Tyler, your brand can be either positive or negative based on your actions with other people. So
absolutely. No, that is so true. So one way we like to sum this up, a personal brand is what people are saying about you when you're not in the room. It's your reputation. And I don't know about you guys, but I want to have a positive reputation. I want people to be saying positive things about me when I'm not in the room.
Right.
All right. Well, that was a great setting the stage. That was a great foundation. We're going to take it a step further now and move into our next topic. What makes a strong personal brand? And I'll kick it over to you, Miss Rita. What would you say? What would you say makes that strong personal brand?
Okay, so we talked about the personal brand. So this question is strong personal brand. Yeah. So I think when I think about that, Tyler, I think about consistency. Yeah. I love to eat. I love McDonald's French fries. So when I go, if I buy them in Alabama, if I drive to Georgia, I know what I'm getting. Yeah. Hopefully I'm getting those hot, crisp fries that I love, that I eat in my car before I get home. And because it's consistent, I know what I'm going to get. So I think that's what kind of sums up a strong personal brand to me.
Same thing for Coca-Cola. You know, the first thing that popped into my mind was Coca-Cola. No matter where you get a Coca-Cola at, it tastes the same, whether it's, you know, at a fast food restaurant, a fine dining restaurant, a gas station. That Coca-Cola tastes the same anywhere you go. And I think the important part to take note of is the emotion that it evokes. You know,
Right.
For me, when I think of Coca-Cola, I think of a movie theater. I think of Coke, popcorn, and a movie. That is the first thought that comes to mind. It evokes that emotion within inside of me. So those are some of the things that make a strong personal brand. So we want to hear from you. Another moment here. Chime into the chat. What would you say? What are some of those characteristics, components that make up a strong personal brand? What comes to mind?
So Tyler, you were talking about Coke and popcorn in the movie theater. When you were describing that, I could smell the popcorn.
Yeah.
I could just, get ready to taste that Coke that gives that little strong fizz. Oh my goodness. So yeah, I could feel it and taste it.
Yeah, absolutely. In the same way that brands have those, that evoke those emotions, we do as well. So give us a few answers. We would love to hear what you think.
So Tasha's got in here consistency and authentic.
Authenticity. Yeah.
Authenticity. Yeah. Let's see what else is coming in. What do you think? What do you think, Greg?
Well, I was going to echo what Tasha put in there, and I think it's doing things from one bucket, being authentic, being consistent, and stuff like that, but also communication. How you build relationships, things like that.
Yeah. Okay, you're not, this isn't a Coke advertisement, but that's how it works.
Yeah. Veronica said, now I want a Coke, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So consistency, it's genuine, it's real, it's real. So those are all awesome answers. Totally agree with all of you. So we're going to take a look. We're going to take a look at a few of these components. So first and foremost, tells a clear story. It's very clear. It gets to the point. You know what it is. You know what the person is about. You know what their story is. Second, it's credible. It tells a credible story. It is, it has truth behind it. There is truth behind it. What people are saying is true, real, credible. And then third, it's consistent. So it's consistent. No matter what somebody says about those fries or those Cokes, it's pretty consistent across the world. You want the same thing for your personal brand. You want a consistent story to be told across all of those components. So clear, credible, and consistent.
So Tyler, you just said those three, we call them the 3 C's, right? Yeah. Clear, consistent, and credible. So when I think about that, Tyler, you're a brand. I'm a brand, right? So how do we use those 3 C's as we're, going along our career journey? So what I just made some notes that, when you think about clear, you think about your resume, you want that to be clear. So when a recruiter sees it, they see your story. Your elevator pitch, tell me about yourself. You want that to be clear. For the credible, you want to be trustworthy. You want to be a person that they can trust, that, your resume represents factual information and you're trustworthy. And that last C of consistent, I believe that's why companies ask the behavioral questions, because I think your past behavior predicts your future behavior. So I think it shows that you're consistent. So we've been talking about personal brands with the 3 C's, but I think you can take it further in your career and use those 3 C's as you're navigating your career.
That's great. Yeah, that is a great tool that I would encourage everyone to put in their toolbox, and hopefully you can remember it by those 3 C's.
Yeah.
So to sum all this up, to sum this whole section up, your brand should be clear, credible, and consistent, like we just talked about, with the end goal of creating meaningful connections, within your network, within your, to leverage your career path. I can't, I think, Ms. Rita, you have a stat on how many, jobs and careers are launched based off of connections.
Yep. I think 95% of recruiters are on LinkedIn and 85% of the jobs are filled through connections or networking.
Yeah. I mean, the data does not, it doesn't lie there. It is very strong and shows us the power of this. So So that sets the stage of what a personal brand is and what a really good personal brand looks like. So we're going to take a pause here for a second and just let this be a reflection point. Let this be a reflection point on that last slide we were talking about there. Is there anyone that you aren't currently connected to that you should be connected to?
Right.
Just take a moment to think about that. I would encourage you, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to ask someone in your network, hey, would you mind connecting me to this person? You never know what you can learn or what that connection might lead you to. So just jot that down, any name that comes to mind. And again, like I said, don't be afraid to reach out. I will tell you, I do this in my industry. I've reached out to chief marketing officers, brand directors at other universities, and just ask. I've asked them, hey, do you mind if we connect? I would love to learn how you're doing X, Y, and Z at your university. And to this date, I haven't had anyone that said, no, I'm not interested in that or didn't respond. Everyone's eager to help each other out. So
I've done the same thing, Tyler. Same thing. I'll reach out. I see something I like on LinkedIn or somebody's doing. I'll send them a message and say, can we set up a Zoom? Can we talk about this? Yeah.
So that is an action item in building your personal brand. So hopefully you guys thought of somebody, a name came to mind there. We're going to dive into our next topic about our digital presence. So we've talked about our personal brand. We want to talk about the digital side of it. We know in 2025, so much of our career, our network, our personal brand is in the digital space. So we're going to talk about it. So Miss Rita, what would you say is, the importance of a digital presence?
I believe your digital presence is your first impression. Yeah. I remember a year and a half ago, I went with a colleague to Atlanta to a conference called the National Sales Conference. And this conference had a career fair portion where they had over 70 of the biggest Fortune 100, 500 companies. So we were networking, trying to get those companies to come to recruit our students. And walked up to the Johnson & Johnson booth, and I handed him my business card, and he said, hold on one second. I'm going to collect so many business cards. Let's just connect on LinkedIn. So on his name badge, he had a QR code where I could scan and go right to him on LinkedIn, and we're connected. Now, for me, I was so glad that my LinkedIn was up to date and it looked good, because that was going to be his, pretty much his first digital impression of me. Yeah. So I think your digital presence is, your personal brand in action. I just believe your digital presence is now your business card.
Absolutely. Yeah. The landscape is shifting. So this is another point. We would love to hear from you guys. Before we look at the content for this, chime in. Why do you think a digital presence matters? Chime in the chat with why you think a digital presence matters.
And Rita, I think, what I would say is kind of echoing you yet again. When I was younger, I won't age anybody else, but when I was younger, we didn't have that. But now when you're applying for jobs, when you're meeting new people, when you're trying to do all these different things, often that social aspect is the first connection, whether it's LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, whatever it is. Right. So it matters because it is kind of the new first look. I mean, people are cyber stalking you before you're even sitting down for that interview.
Exactly. Yeah.
I see we've got some good answers coming in the chat here. It helps to create more marketing opportunities. Mm-hmm. I will say every time I make a post on LinkedIn, this is how I, get offered opportunities to present on personal branding. I'll share it to my network.
Right.
Someone will reach out and say, oh, could you come speak to my class about this? It's absolutely a great opportunity.
Sean says because it reaches a large audience really fast. Yeah. And I found that out when I posted that one back on the Employer Drive-In and how fast it went. Yeah. It's a chance to showcase yourself and what you want others to know about you. Yes, most definitely. You create that narrative. It's your story and what you want them to know. Gives you more visibility in professional organizations and professionals who are hiring. Absolutely, Bernadette. Yep.
Yeah, those are all. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for chiming in there. We're learning from one another today. So I
exactly
appreciate those answers. So let's take a look. Let's take a look at why it matters. First of all, we know that over 70% of employers screen candidates online. As a hiring manager myself, I can tell you the first thing I do is I look at the resume and I head to Google and I type that person's name in to see what social media profiles come up, what LinkedIn profiles come up, because this gives me a snapshot. It gives me a snapshot of what their personality looks like.
Right.
Second, so number two, we know that our online presence is often our first impression. 20 years ago, this was a handshake. So this was a handshake, an introduction in person. We know that that is now happening first online. We know that it's that handshake is now a virtual handshake. And then third, this is a big one. This one's big, is the opportunity to control the narrative about you, control what is being said about you online. So anything you wanted to add to that, Miss Rita?
I'm just saying people are going to talk about you, so you might as well control it, right?
That's right. Yeah, I agree. That's why I have a personal portfolio, which we'll get to in a minute.
Right.
Yeah, we want to control it. So we have a little activity. So activity moment here. I want everybody to, if you're on your computer, pull up a web browser, another tab at the top, or if you're on your mobile device, Google yourself. Take a moment, Google yourself, especially if you haven't done this recently, and see what comes up. So we're going to do this. We're going to do this alongside you as a little exercise here.
Okay, Tyler. So I've just Googled myself.
Okay.
I think I'm looking pretty clean right now. It does show that I was on the staff council at UAB. It shows, let's see, I work in the School of Business. There's some photos out here of me.
Yeah.
Yep. Instagram comes up. So I look fairly clean right now.
Awesome. So for me, first thing that comes up is my LinkedIn profile. Hopefully everyone on here has a LinkedIn. If you don't, I highly encourage it. Like I said, my personal portfolio. So I have a website for myself and my work. I see my team page at work. Another page for my portfolio, and luckily the pictures that come up are all my professional headshots. So yeah, I'm with you, Miss Rita. Everything here, I'm happy with what I see. So what does your presence look like? We encourage you to take a look at this. If anybody wants to share anything in the chat, feel free to. Just anything you saw that was good, maybe surprising. If not, we will move on. But again,
Monica says it shows a clean profile and all of her professional affiliations.
Incredible.
Tasha said it shows that I worked in the Department of Ed.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. So again, I encourage everyone to do this every couple of years, every year or two. Just take a look what is out there, what is being said about you. So with that, I'm going to hand it back over to you, Miss Rita, to give everybody a look at what are some action items for the digital presence.
Okay, so we just came up with 3, and we've got some other tips at the end of our presentation. But in my industry, I'm in the career services industry. I necessarily don't have an online website or portfolio, but most definitely this is something, Tyler, for you, because you're in branding and marketing and you do freelance things. Can you just talk about like how you created yours and what you put on your portfolio?
Yeah, absolutely. So my portfolio, I created one in college. So when I was in undergrad, about 10 years ago, I created my first portfolio. And honestly, it was because it was required for an internship. It was part of the internship application for the internship I was applying for. I created it and I maintained it ever since. Now, has it evolved significantly since then? Yes. But it's one of those things, like I was saying, when we Googled ourselves, it's one of the first things that always comes up when I Google myself. So I want to keep that out there. I get to put whatever I want on that website. I get to share some of my freelance work. I get to share some of my work projects. So someone can get a snapshot, of who I am as a designer. So I think, if it's fitting for your industry, like Miss Rita, you said, it's not fitting for every industry.
Right.
But if it's fitting for your industry, it's, I definitely encourage it.
Karina in the chat asked the question, is it, I think, Karina, it is important to show some of your hobbies and outside of work stuff. I think that's really cool that you can do that. And I think that's what Tyler was just talking about in his portfolio. It shows the whole person. because we're not just the person, you know, that work at UAB. We do other things. And I really think being able to show the whole well-rounded person is important. Yeah.
People love the people element. We, you know, there's the professional element, but at the end of the day, when we're hiring someone who's, you know, their personality and their, you know, their interests match, and it's a good fit. So those things I think are very important.
Right. This next one, Tyler, is our social media profiles, and we'll dive a little deeper into this when we talk about LinkedIn, but I think that's Tyler. That's your LinkedIn, right, Tyler? Yeah. And then that is my Facebook. And Karina, it kind of goes back to what I just said. You know, my Facebook shows more of my personality. I love decorating. I love, you know, antique shopping and things like that. So it does, you know, another side of me is shown on my Facebook there.
Yeah.
And then the last one's LinkedIn. We'll dive a little bit more into this, but a totally different photo that was on my Facebook, more professional. And we'll talk about the cover in a minute.
Yeah. And here's a snapshot of my LinkedIn profile as well. So let's dive into that now. So this is one of our final topics. So we want to hear from you all first before we dive into this. One of our last times to just chime in on what makes an impactful LinkedIn profile. Especially anyone who has one, has a robust LinkedIn presence. We want to hear from you guys in particular. What makes an impactful LinkedIn profile? Miss Rita, I don't know. You might want to, I know we're going to dive into these things, but first thing that come to mind for you, maybe?
I think for me, it's just making sure you have a nice picture.
Yeah.
Up there, professional picture.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's the first thing people are going to see, probably that cover page and the picture.
Yeah. So what about you all? What do you
Let's see what's coming in. I
think we're still waiting on some answers to pop up here in the chat.
Yeah, it's a little delayed, but yeah. Okay, Tyler, we can probably move on. I'll look at the chat. I'll monitor the chat.
Keep a watch on that. So let's talk about some of these things. So I know this is your profile, Miss Rita. So talk us through your picture here.
That's just a professional picture that I had made, and it's just me. It's not me and my son, my husband, my dog, or anything like that. It's just me in the picture. Yeah,
and professional. It's on a professional background.
Right.
Yeah. Right. So professional photo, key. Second.
My cover page. Now, LinkedIn has gotten really good on their cover pages. So there's a lot of cool ones that you can choose. I was telling Tyler earlier, you know, I always knew I would probably be in business, and I always dreamed of working in a very, very tall building one day. So when I'm on the first floor right now, but always dreamed in working in a sky, you know, tall building. So when I saw that cover photo, I was like, yes, that's me. So that's why I chose that. Yeah.
And when I see this, you know, I look at your profile here, and I immediately think professional business executive. You know, that's what comes to mind. And I encourage everyone, you know, on your LinkedIn, don't leave the default no image. Definitely pick one of those good placeholder images. So I see some other things coming in the chat. If you want to read a few of those, Miss Rita.
Okay, let's see. Let's see.
A good LinkedIn profile. You're engaging with others. It has honest information.
Honest information. That's so key. Honest information. Grabbing the attention of potential recruiters by making sure responsibilities and duties are clear on the page.
Absolutely. Yeah. So some of those are key elements. A compelling headline. So this is, again, I think you just said, Tasha, grabbing the attention. A compelling headline is a way to do that. They're scrolling through many people. Having a headline that they can get to the point, know exactly who you are and what you're about. This is mine. So creative director. I'm in the industry. My specialty is web, digital, and creative. I like to say I'm a strategist and problem solver. I'm tackling tough problems in these niche areas here. So a recruiter can automatically see these are the things that, you know, make up who I am. And then lastly is our personal summary. So this one's a snapshot of mine as well. So this is another one of those opportunities to share a little bit of personality. You get to just talk as yourself, share kind of where your career has led you, what you've been doing in your career. I think this is an opportunity as well to share a few of those things outside of work. I'm on the alumni advisory board for the School of Business at UAB. Sharing that there. I don't know, Miss Rita, if you had any other ideas or thoughts here.
Yeah, Tyler, this is one, we talk about our LinkedIn it's living, breathing, changing all the time. And this is actually part of mine that I need to work on, to really write a more compelling story. I started looking at it the other day and noticed that LinkedIn has the AI chat box, I guess is what you call it, that can help you, write your story and things like that. So this is actually something I'm going to be working on myself to kind of update and craft mine a little better. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, totally. Take advantage of AI. These are those places like this. Take advantage of AI. Don't use it to create an entire resume.
Right.
Use it to help you generate ideas, grammar, proofread. Please don't have a typo in your LinkedIn profile.
Yeah, exactly.
We've got great tools now that can help you with that. So take advantage of those. And lastly, this is one I can't stress this one enough. Having a profile is great on LinkedIn. Take it the extra mile though. Engage with your connections and create meaningful content. So engage, create. This one takes you far. And Miss Rita, I know you're going to share an example of this post here on the right of how far a LinkedIn post can go.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier, 95% of recruiters are on LinkedIn, but this was an event that we conducted back in August in the Collette School of Business. We did an employer drive-in where we brought in employers for them to really see what the School of Business had to offer, what we're teaching, just a lot of different aspects that we wanted to show the business community. So I did a post on LinkedIn. I think it was around April, 16th or 17th. And I'm still getting just connections from this post. And the last time I looked at it, it had like over 5,000 impressions. In the post, I did tag my colleagues, Tristan Bowie and Andrea Steckman in the post, but we also tagged the School of Business. We also tagged Trent Dilfer, the football coach, because he came and spoke. But it just keeps going and it keeps going. So I think that's the beauty of social media and LinkedIn. When you put something out there, it can continue to grow and benefit you later down the road. It's already October and I'm still getting information about it. Yeah.
Absolutely. No. And I see the same thing on my LinkedIn. A post might pop up 2, 3, 4 different times. Different people in my network have engaged with it. That's just creating equity. That is creating, in the marketing branding world, that's brand equity. The more you see something, the more repetition that somebody sees, the more they remember that person. So engaging, creating meaningful content, huge piece of LinkedIn.
And Tyler, you mentioned something to me earlier about the picture, with you being in branding and marketing, how does the picture really drive engagement?
Oh yeah, no, a photo, the old saying, a photo's worth 1,000 words. I cannot, emphasize enough how important an engaging photo is, especially that group photo there. Right. In the marketing world, people love to see people. We like to see things, we like to see buildings, but we love to see other people. It might be people we know, it might be, connections of connections. We like to see what people are doing. Right. So again, both of these posts here show, group photos. Again, a picture's worth 1,000 words.
Awesome.
So with that, we're going to take another little pause, breather moment here to just take inventory. You don't have to share this in the chat unless you feel compelled to, but just think about, I want you guys to all think about what is on your social media that shouldn't be. Let's think about, is there anything from college maybe you should take down, anything from high school, a different point in your life? Is there anything that shouldn't be out there that you wouldn't want your future boss to see? And is there anything that's not out there but should be? Should you be creating content or sharing photos from that last work conference you went to? What is something that shouldn't be there and what is something that should be? So just take a second, think through that, and maybe jot down or look at your profiles later after this.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that wraps up that section of the presentation. And now we're gonna kind of bring this home and talk about the job search. How can we put all of this to play in the job search? So Miss Rita, go ahead and kick us off.
Okay, we've talked about LinkedIn in length, but after you do all these things on LinkedIn and your digital presence, eventually you got to network and communicate with a human. So always remember that, right? We've done, Tyler and I have come up with Rita and Tyler's top 10 ways to set yourself up for success. Yeah. I'm going to do the first 5, then Tyler's going to do the last 5. Yeah. But we've already talked about Googling yourself and what shows up on that digital presence out there on social media. Update your resume. We talked about, for it to be crisp. USA Jobs, if you want to work for the federal government now, on September 27th, they just made a mandate that they're not going to look at any resumes longer than 2 pages. Mm-hmm. And if you if you have a resume in their system right now, more than 2 pages, they're not going to look at it. So update your resume, make sure it's for our students, 1 page is usually sufficient. But if you've got some work experience, 2-page max. And so just think about that. Creating an email signature. I don't know how many times you've gotten emails from people and you want to you can reply back, but you want to kind of see their title and kind of what, they're all about. Just making sure you have an email signature that it's easy to get back in contact with you, that it has your title, where you're working, your email, your phone number, all those things. I think that just sets you apart instead of, getting an email from me and it says, thanks, Rita. And you can't see everything at the bottom. We've talked about this, polishing your LinkedIn. Knowing LinkedIn is important, but also remember, you have to speak to a human later down the road. Follow and engage with companies online. I like to tag companies. Not too long ago, I tagged a company in a post. They posted something, then I replied back and tagged them. And then next thing you know, we got a conversation going. Yeah. So do that. I do that quite a bit. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. So just to take us across the final 10 here, setting up a job search tracker. And I want you to speak to some of these, Ms. Rita. I know this is your industry and what you specialize in. So a job tracker, LinkedIn learning, interviewing, and then research, and then the camera. So yeah, I would love for you just to hear your perspective on these as well.
One of the things I know, when you're in that job search, you are filling out a lot of applications. You're sending out resumes to so many companies, and sometimes you forget. We have students sometimes that will answer the phone and we're like, how do they get my information? Well, you applied for their job, but you forgot about it. So a lot of times I just tell students, set up an Excel spreadsheet. And I'm pretty sure if you put this into one of the AI chat box or something like that, it would create a spreadsheet for you. But just knowing the name of the company, the role and title that you applied for, the date you applied, when that job is expiring, maybe a small description so it jogs your memory of what you applied to, and just creating that in a Excel document so you can keep up with where you're applying and who you're applying to. Also explore LinkedIn Learning. I've been kind of doing this once a week. I'll go out and on LinkedIn Learning and just learn different snippets of different things that are going on in my industry or things that I'm interested in. Also practice your interviewing. We coach the STAR technique here in the Collette School of Business, and that's the situation, task, action, result. So when you're answering interview questions, you want to tell them what the situation is, what the task is, what action you took, and what the result. It kind of helps you to kind of stay on focus so you're not rambling. Research the roles that fits your interest. I know sometimes we have a tendency to just blanket our resumes out to everything because sometimes we feel like we're so desperate to find something. And I just don't feel that's the best approach in your job search. I believe you should really look at the job description, see what they're asking for, and really tailor your resume to that job. So when I was searching for a job, if it was at UAB, it would be Rita Stewart-Hampton, UAB. If it was at Coca-Cola, it was Rita Stewart-Hampton, Coca-Cola. That way I'm using that job description to kind of tailor my resume to what they're looking for. Okay, because we got to get through that ATS system before a human even sees our resume. The last tip is turn on that camera, dress professionally, and engage. I had a meeting the other day with someone, and we were meeting, and I noticed that his camera was off. And I said, could you turn on your camera? And when that person turned on their camera, they were in the bed under the cover. And I said, we gotta work on this. I know it's on Zoom, but you got to be ready to go. You got to be with a pen, pencil, and ready to go. So that's our 10 tips that we have.
And then last but not least,
you only need one yes. I know it seems overwhelming sometimes when you're searching for jobs, but you only need that one yes, for someone to give you a shot. So don't give up. Create that tracker, because you just need that one yes, somebody to give you an opportunity to show your skills and talents.
I love that. So in summary, these are our takeaways from today. So Miss Rita, go ahead and just wrap it up.
Okay.
Everything we've learned today.
Okay, so we believe your digital presence is your living asset. Keep it fresh. We talked about your resume as a living document. All your social media, your digital presence is that as well. Lead with credibility, consistency, and clarity. We talk about, the 3 C's again. Don't wait for an opportunity. Build visibility now. Tyler and I are putting ourselves out here doing this webinar.
Absolutely.
And we're building visibility. So any opportunity you have to expand your skills, take advantage of it. Your personal brand is the current currency now. It's a tough job market right now. So you got to make sure you do all the things that you need to do. And it's all has a compounding effect. And hopefully your change will start today.
Absolutely. And then last but not least, our final challenge and takeaway for you all is to find one small change you can make this week to your online presence that will bolster and build your personal brand online. And with that, thank you so much for tuning in today. Greg, I know we can probably open the floor up to questions now.
You bet. And if you have a question, go ahead and drop it in the chat. We have time, and this is your time. So we want to hear from our audience, you. So I do want to say I dropped in the chat, Rita, the session we had earlier about interview skills.
Okay, good.
And in that, I actually asked this question, I believe. So you say, turn on the camera, dress professionally, engage. Okay, you're talking to, I was a sports anchor for a while. I'm not going to lie. I wore shorts a lot. How important is it for somebody to be dressed from the shoes all the way to the top?
I think it's really important because you never know what could happen. You may have to get up or something like that. And I just think that it helps you build confidence when you have the full suit on. I mean, the shoes, the socks, or the heels, or whatever, that you're fully dressed. It just, to me, exudes confidence. It's that, we used to call it in industry, that executive presence. And I just believe, just go all out.
Yeah.
I think that's fantastic. So when it comes to setting up a job search tracker, are there ones that you really go, these really work, others that you look at and go, maybe not these?
No, I mean, it's just like the ones that I've done, it's just like a simple, like Excel spreadsheet. And it's just more for you to just see and keep up with what you're doing. Because sometimes, like I said, looking for a job is a full-time job. And for me, the tracker just gave me encouragement and not to give up, and just say, okay, I am putting in the work. I am putting in work to get this internship. I am putting in the work to get this full-time job. And I'm visual. So I just wanted to see it instead of having like all these sticky notes and different things I've applied for. Plus, if an employer does call you, then, you have looked at your tracker and you're like, oh yeah, I did apply to Blue Cross Blue Shield. And this is what I applied for. Okay, great. It just, I don't know, it keeps you organized, I think.
So out of those 10 ways to set yourself up for success, if there's 2 that kind of rise to the top, they're the cream going to the top, what would you say those 2 are?
Oh, you go first.
I think the number 10, I think the professionalism, I think that is what's going to help you rise above, the dress professionally and engaged. I think that's going to be the thing that helps you rise above a lot of the get you out of the people pile, as John Maxwell says. I'm looking back here. Number two, I know we spend a lot of time on LinkedIn. So, I mean, I think I'm going to have to say LinkedIn. I think I've got to say you've got to get that LinkedIn profile built out, robust, engaged with companies. I think if you're doing those two things, you're showing up online well and you're showing up personally well, if you're showing up professionally and engaged.
Yeah, I'm just going to agree with Tyler. I think those both are really, really good. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's okay to agree. I do want to tell Bernadette, yes, you can share this presentation with whoever. It's going to be living on our website for as long as we can imagine, and in our YouTube channel. So use these resources, especially if you have somebody that needs to go that next step. So please, by all means, this is what we are here for. We do have a question. So how do you tell your story when you're changing careers in the digital age? You're on a non-linear career path. How do you tell that story?
I think LinkedIn, I just noticed this the other day, but they have a section on LinkedIn now where you can add in like a gap. If you've had a gap in your career, so you can actually add that in. I saw it the other day, and that's the first time I've seen that. So I think it is not out of the norm to have gaps now. That used to be like frowned upon, but not in the world we live in now. It's just, I think after the COVID hit and just so many different things, that is not so frowned upon. And we talked about transferable skills. The skills that you're doing now, you just have to find a way to show how those skills can be transferred into this new career. And if you're an alum or a student here, you can make an appointment and we can help you do that.
Yeah, I will speak to this too from the marketing lens. When I saw your question pop in, Melissa, I thought about how companies rebrand. Companies go through rebrands all the time, and they do it well. I will say we see from time to time some don't do it well, but for the most part, organizations go through these rebrands and they communicate. They communicate why they're doing it, what they're doing. The ones that do it best are the ones that communicate it really well, and they start talking about it in advance. There's this shift coming. There's this change coming. We're modernizing. We're doing this. Get your narrative out there. I think if your narrative is out there, I don't think there's as much negativity around this shift in career paths.
Right. I agree.
Yeah.
Rita, Tyler, this has been fantastic information. Thank you so much for hopping on, joining us, and sharing what it's like in a remote world. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
You're so welcome. And just a quick note for today's audience, this webinar was recorded. Once it's uploaded onto our website, we'll get an email. You will get an email with a link so you can revisit the session or share it with others. In the meantime, we'd love for you to join us for these upcoming webinars. Not on this, Rita, is the one that we have next April, but it's so far down the road. I didn't put it on here, but here's the ones immediately coming up. October 21st, learn how you can benefit from franchising opportunities from our friends with McDonald's as part of what McDonald's franchise ownership could mean for you. Why do nightmares happen and how can we manage them? Join Dr. Christina Pierpiola Parker on October 30th for a spooky deep dive during The Science of Nightmares, the Dark Side of Dreams. Confused about carbs on November 19th, Tara Kelly breaks down the science behind this misunderstood nutrient and clears up common myths during The Science of Carbs, Unraveling the Spaghetti. And I believe she was in this session today. And finally, into our 2025 series on December 11th with New Year, Better You, Reset the Right Way with Dr. Joseph Capiano. He's going to share practical strategies for building sustainable health habits in 2026. Register for these and more at alumni.uab.edu/events. Well, the countdown to Uncork is on. I'm going to slip this in before I go to the thank you. We have one of our biggest fundraisers at the Florentine on November 13th. Join us for tastings, auctions, Blazer Plinkle, all supporting scholarships at UAB. Tickets are $75 for in-person, free for virtual bidding. Let's raise a glass and make a difference together. You can register for those at alumni.uab.edu/25 uncork. And as we wrap up, we'd love to hear from you. Your feedback helps us improve and shape future webinar topics. Just scan the QR code on your screen to access a brief survey and share your thoughts. Once again, thanks so much for joining us. And as always, go Blazers.
Go Blazers.